You know, he's aggressive, like Avery Bradley. You know, they're really good defenders on the ball. You know, I kind of like that because that give me, if they're too aggressive, that give me a chance to drive it. And I did that in the first half. You know, in the second half, I was a little bit out of gas. couldn't move anymore so fast. But you know. That's always nice to have these kind of players in your team. So if I'm honest, I was a little bit surprised, especially because you know, I asked for the trade. So, but you know, that's the NBA goes. You know, it's a business. So I think so that like I talked with Iasaiah, he's happy here. You know, he was a great teammate. We had a good relationship. Unfortunately, we had 3 point guards at the same position, so and only one ball, so it's kind of hard to satisfy everybody.
Celtics fall 93-86 in a crucial battle in the standings. We're going to break it down here, and then we're going to be joined by ESPN's Amin Elhassan for the second part of the show. This is the Garden Report presented by lynda.com and Peak Organic Brewing on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog. Jared Weiss, I'm here with Julian Edlow. Welcome to the program. This is the Garden Report. We have only got 5 regular season games left after this one. So, yeah, I counted. Okay. It's correct. I hope it's correct. And we're going to talk about this game that happened here tonight as the Celtics almost pulled off a comeback with their second, you could even say third unit against the Miami Heat here, who are just ahead of them in the standings. It was a pretty fascinating night, and that it was pretty hideous and then got kind of exciting, but not really pretty at the end of the game. We are brought to you by lynda.com, one of the best resources online for learning whatever you want to learn, whether it's learning about cameras, learning about how to be a good friend to Julian. I mean, whatever you need to know, you can find it on lynda.com. And of course, our drink sponsors, Peak Organic Brewing, who make wonderful beer. It's brewed up in Portland, Maine. It's used, I think they actually even use hops grown locally in Maine. And the beer is fantastic.
Learn something new every day.
You can get it pretty much anywhere in town here. I actually found out that Alton and Harlow, one of the best new restaurants right down the street from my house, actually also has it there. So I'm going to go get a drink there after tonight's show. So let's talk about this game.
Of course you are.
So now that we talked about the sponsors, and of course Amin Elhassan from ESPN is going to be joining us for part 2 of the show. We already recorded that, so we're pretending
Keep
it's
watching.
in the future.
Amin will be on the show.
It was an amazing conversation.
You don't have to just watch us.
Around for that. So talking about this game here. So the Celtics go with a lineup pretty much of Crowder, Jerebko, and then you have Pressey and Smart in the backcourt. And then they kind of mix it up about who was in there with them. But Datomi got some minutes there. And Gigi had some big plays. He had a couple threes, which was great.
Yep.
He was, of course, diving all over the place. His
Brad
bun
Stevens
intact,
called him the best shooter on the team.
which kind of surprised me a little bit there. But
shocked
I guess
me.
if you think about it, it really, there's
Sure, Gigi Datomi is the best shooter on the Celtics.
Gigi Datomi is not a good shooter. That doesn't mean he's not the best shooter on this team, because this team doesn't really have any good shooters right now. And that's not including Iasaiah Thomas, who is super rusty in this game. We'll talk about that before we wrap this part up. But so they go with this weird lineup here. It's really kind of a combination of their second and even third rotations here. And they did that because the first unit was garbage tonight.
They were brutal.
They were down by 20 at one. I think at one point in this game, 22 was the biggest lead for the Heat here. They didn't show up to play, and that's the Heat. The Heat came in without Dwayne Wade, without Hassan Whiteside. They're two players that are playing at all NBA levels pretty much in the past month or so, and they came in off a loss, a crucial loss too.
And the Celtics said they talked about that. You know, watch out. Don't underestimate the Heat. Wade's not playing. Whiteside's not playing. And that's exactly what they came out and did for 2.5, 3 quarters. Iasaiah Thomas was clearly rusty, even though he's not a starter. He's a bench player technically, but as, you know, the best player on the team, very rusty coming back from that injury. Obviously was not himself. He said he didn't have his legs under him. He hasn't been doing his conditioning the last 2 weeks. He said he will be better Friday, but for tonight, obviously he was not, and the starters did not play well either. So, you know, we deserved that fourth quarter after, you know, struggling through those first 3 quarters, watching the product that the Celtics were putting out there in arguably the biggest game of the year. This is the 8th seed versus the 7th seed, not much time left. You know, this is a game that has a lot to do with the Celtics making a playoff berth, and they came out completely flat. So it was good to see some of the players come out with that heart in the fourth quarter and, you know, get it going. they just got it going too late, and it was unfortunate. If the game's 2 minutes longer, maybe they get it, but it's 48 minutes, not 50.
And the thing is, you're looking at their starting lineup. They had 4 of the 5 guys in their starting lineup that basically weren't really a part of that fourth quarter stretch run. Smart being the only one. Smart offensively challenged tonight. He really has been a lot of the season. He went 1 for 8 tonight. That was
this isn't going to be my box, but Marcus Smart 1 for 8 led the team in minutes, over 29 minutes.
How does someone play 29 minutes
crazy,
and lead the
right?
team in minutes? It's crazy, right? I was going to say this for boxing out. We'll get to that in a second because we're going to get that out of the way before part 2. They took 37 free throws tonight, which is a huge number. That's huge. They don't get really even remotely close to that on most nights.
Shot 67%.
But they couldn't hit them. And Miami wasn't good from the line either. But
Miami,
the Celtics,
69%.
I mean, if they shot 79% even, which is respectable, they could have gotten pretty much right up against Miami there. That would have been good for about 7 points or so. So, I mean, those are the kind of opportunities that they missed tonight. They missed a lot of, they gave up some crucial offensive rebounds. Udonis Haslem, who will be my baller of the night, which I just spoiled.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. He was huge coming up for this team in the fourth quarter. Drew a really important foul on Jay Crowder, I want to say. Yep. I mean, the Celtics, they hustled their butts off, but Miami outplayed them, outsmarted them, and was just in control of this game.
I mean, Miami outplayed them for 3 quarters.
I'm sorry, played their butts off in the fourth quarter.
If you want to talk about the fourth quarter, until the Celtics started fouling the Heat at the end, Miami had 8 points in the fourth quarter, and that speaks to how bad the Celtics were in the first 3 quarters. The Heat still got the win by, 7 points. So that's not good. Brad Stevens said, this loss angers him more than the Detroit loss because, hey, they had a chance in the Detroit game, but they played, they competed. When you don't play the first 2.5 quarters, you're leaving a lot on the table when it comes to trying to get a huge win tonight. So, as you said, Haslem was great. The Heat, had Dragic was fantastic in the first half, and then they really started to contain him. But you can't win basketball games by playing, however many minutes, 24, 28, 30 minutes. You got to play 48 minutes.
Yeah, the funny thing is I thought Dragic was kind of a mess in the fourth quarter. He kept driving, getting jump balls, all sorts of stuff. I think he got away with one foul call for him. But Miami did all they could to give that game away, and they did the same thing against Milwaukee the night before where they couldn't score at all in the fourth quarter.
they
only
did,
combined
but
for
the Celtics were so bad at the beginning that they could try as hard as they want to give it away, and they couldn't.
Okay, so before we run through box and ball, which you pretty much already did anyway, Iasaiah Thomas looked super duper rusty tonight.
Yep.
I walked out behind him out of the locker room after the game. He was limping.
Yeah,
he had a noticeable gimp. He was really favoring his right leg there. That obviously explains why he couldn't shoot the ball, why he wasn't playing that well, why his dribbling was pretty bad. I don't know how many turnovers he had. He had 3 turnovers in 20 minutes, which isn't good. One that I really remember was late in the second quarter. He tried to do a crossover, just getting guarded by Tyler Johnson, and Tyler Johnson almost laughed at him as he swiped the ball away. Iasaiah Thomas's crossovers usually, make children cry. They're so dangerous. So he clearly was not himself tonight. Seeing him limp off the court tonight doesn't make you too hopeful that he's going to be able to really go on Friday. He might play through it on Friday, but he's probably not going to look good.
I'm sure he's going to play through it. But
sure. But the biggest issue for him is he isn't really jumping really well right now. So his shot looks terrible because he gets a lot of elevation on his shot. That's where he gets the power he needs.
And that's what he talked about after the game. Iasaiah told us that, he doesn't want to chalk this up to any excuses, but he felt he didn't have his legs under him. You look at the box score, 2 for 7, 0 for 3 from downtown, 0 for 3 from the free throw line. You gotta buy it. You gotta believe him. His legs weren't there, but Brad Stevens needs them to come back if this team's going to make this playoff push. So, like you said, we'll see. Friday, he probably won't be himself, but you can hope for some improvement. And, maybe by Sunday when the Clippers get here, he can start to work himself back in. That's going to be a tough matchup with Chris Paul, but they're going to need him back eventually.
Okay, so really quickly here before we go, box and ball. For me, my stat of the night is also my baller of the night, Udonis Haslem, who wasn't really going to even play in this game,
right.
Kind of had to. Then he played 38 minutes and had a 12-12 game. And I'm biased because I've been
a lot more than a DNP.
It's a lot more. I've been a Haslem fan ever since he was in Florida. I love the way that he is overachieved beyond comprehension in the NBA, and he continues to do so, even at the ripe old age of, 34, 35 now? He's getting up there a little bit.
I have no clue how old Udonis Haslem is.
I don't think Udonis is any clue. So,
anyway,
sir.
Phil Pressey, baller of the night. We talked about it. He came in. He sparked that run that got the Celtics going, got him back in the game. You know, only 18 minutes, but 11 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, shot 4 of 6. He played great defense that Iasaiah Thomas could not play with his injury. Phil Pressey was the spark plug that got the Celtics back into the game. Couldn't get him all the way there, but he had a lot to do with it. Bucks, 5 technical fouls tonight. No LeBron James, no Dwayne Wade, no Paul Pierce, no Kevin Garnett. Heat and the Celtics still do not like each other, and it was very evident in this game.
I love that continues no matter who's on the court. I think Mario Chalmers might be the continuous factor there.
It's obviously Mario Chalmers.
I was kind of waiting for D-Wade to like run on the court and body slam Phil Pressey or something like that. Too bad that never happened. So we're going to come back for part 2 here, and we're going to sit down with Amin Elhassan from ESPN and Truehoop and SportsCenter and Twitter and #HayWARD and all that stuff. It was an amazing conversation. I can't wait for you guys to listen, and Julian got to listen, actually, while he and I talked pretty much.
I zipped the lip.
So you're going to enjoy that in part 2. Garden Report.
We have Amin here. We got to listen to what he has to say.
Exactly. So Garden Report brought to you
never worked for
by
the Suns before.
Lynda.com and Pure Organic Brewing. Let me talk about our sponsors on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
Body felt good, other than when I fell one time. It hurt, it's just all the other things, getting back in the flow of things, getting my rhythm back. I wasn't decisive at all. It was tough for me. Probably one of my worst games I've ever played.
It was those guys' game. Those guys deserved to play in the end of that game. Said that before. You know, and we really had, you know, Phil hasn't shot it from 3 with great percentage, but other than that, we had guys that have made big shots for us or are great shooters. So, you know, Marcus didn't shoot well tonight, but he's made big shots in the past. Jay Crowder's made huge shots the whole time he's been here. And then, you know, Gigi's probably the best shooter on our team.